Welcome back to the Godly Play podcast for practitioners, storytellers, trainers, and all who want to grow in this very big work. We are here sharing inspiration and best practices, making meaning through story, wonder, rhythm, and play. I'm Joy Studer.
And I'm Aimee Formo. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that comes up often, parents in the classroom. Joy, I know this comes up in my context anytime a child is finally potty trained or a new family visits our church. As a trainer, I imagine it probably comes up for you constantly too.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely a regular conversation topic in trainings, for sure.
So as a program administrator, it's a really tricky situation to navigate when parents ask to stay with their children. We have safeguarding rules in place to protect everyone. It's not the storyteller or door person's first rodeo, so there's not a real great way to justify saying yes from a programmatic standpoint, even if we want to. Um, it does help me to know why. Are they just curious about what we're doing behind that door, or is there some other reason, like a trauma that their child's struggling with?
Yeah, this is really helpful context to think about. Honestly, we don't always know what the background is, and it would probably be very unwise of us to assume that we can get that information, especially right away from a new family.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
when a parent or caregiver wants to witness the Godly Play classroom or join their child for their first time in the circle, I often make sure we invite them to do so. Typically, this is for the parent's sake, so much more than it is for the child's. And that's an important distinction to make and to think about. So now I say that I invite them in, but there are parameters around that invitation. And before they even enter the classroom, just like the volunteers get ready and the kids get ready, I have to help that parent or caregiver get ready. So I use a 10 best ways to be an adult in the classroom. It's a little bit of a play on our 10 best ways story. And I offer some information such as we make sure we don't over adult the space. In doing so, there are only two adults in the classroom. While in the room, we watch the story, not the children. Their eyes go where our eyes go. We do not nudge children to answer a wondering. We invite them to wonder and know that it's happening out loud and in their hearts. And so many more parameters like that. There are also times where we do need more than two adults. And this would be if one of our students possibly needs a one on one. Most likely, they have an IEP for such at school. And that's something that parents and caregivers can disclose to help their child be successful and to help the circle of children be the most successful. So that might be a whole different podcast episode entirely, but I want to make sure we mention and lift that up as a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Ground rules are really important, and so is advocating for your own children. I've also gotten pushback from caregivers when the answer is no. For example, 6 different parents ask on the same day. As
Mm-hmm.
a storyteller who's always had one or both of my children in the circle, I can't really just tell people, well, there's a no parent rule. We're a small enough community, everyone knows I'm a parent to some of the children in the circle. And I know you also tell stories with your kids in the circle. How have you navigated that?
Oh, yes. Okay. So there's so much to this little tapestry. I'm going to unfold a little bit here. First, I want to lift up that when there are so many parents who really want to sit in the circle, sometimes that's a really great something to think about for program leaders that maybe we need a godly play class for our parents. Maybe our parents and caregivers need this way to process God's stories as well in their own journey. And so that is something I would really encourage people to think about. Now, going to my own kids have always been in the godly play classroom with me. Everett, my oldest, was there in the womb and then in a carrier sleeping on my front or back while I told stories. Lincoln, my youngest, as well. They've been with me for room consults and some one day workshops and even conferences. I have many pictures of my kids at conference tables showing off godly play. They have godly play as a huge part of their lives, not simply just a once a week event. So they might be a bit abnormal for this conversation. They love the stories, even if they've heard them so many times. They love different storytellers. It doesn't have to be mom. They love different storytellers rotating in the space. And honestly, I think they just love their godly play circle, their community of children. They're all very close with one another and often will pray if someone isn't there that day and they get worried about them. Now, that being said, I also know that there are many children who struggle with having their parents in the classroom. And sometimes we just need to give them their own sacred space. And this little bit might be hard for program leaders to hear and to chew on, but sometimes the answer to needing more volunteers is not the parents. Studies have shown that children need other adults, right, outside of their family to support and care for their children's spirituality. And this is a great opportunity to remind your church community of that. And maybe those parents, those grown-ups get to go be in big church or whatever you call it, and someone else can step in to this role and be present with their children. My kids love that they know Mr. Ken and Miss Leah and Miss Betty and all of these other wonderful volunteers who know that circle of kids by name. So if you are the parent who is the storyteller or the door person and your child is in your circle, I think it's really important to take time. Take time and acknowledge that you have a role today and that you hope your children can still experience godly play as an opportunity for them to wonder freely, even if mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, whoever is the storyteller or the door person. I think it's nice to remind them that there are no right answers, only their own answers when wondering, and that you admire them for their ability to be present in the circle, even with you there. It's also okay to have them tell you it's hard for them to have you in the space. So if you have more than one room, you might be able to have the option to volunteer and go to a different room and still be present with other children and volunteer, but maybe not with your own kids. Maybe it's also hard for you. I know I have one of these parents in my circles. Hard for you as the parent to let your child work with the acrylic paints on the carpet and you struggle with the mess you know is about to happen. Acknowledge that with honesty to your program leader. Maybe this is for you're taking your child's time in the circle by knowing that you're wincing every time that paint cup spills, right? Or that the dessert happens to jump out of the bag or the box. And if it's a struggle for you as the storyteller door person, being the parent, it's probably a struggle for your child because they can feel that from you. So it might be a good opportunity to step back. What about you, though, Aimee? Do you offer any words of wisdom or encouragement for your own children when they're in the circle with you or have been?
Yeah, sort of. Dot and Leonor also have grown up in a circle with mom as one of their rotating storytellers. They also went to a cooperative preschool where I was expected to serve as a teacher's aide for 3 to 5 hours about 2 times every month, and I'm their Girl Scout leader. So I think over the course of the last 10 years, we've kind of fallen into this way of being together in those situations. I try to make it a point to regularly acknowledge that they are being stellar friends to the other kids by sharing me with them, and to
I love
express
that.
how much I appreciate it when they don't distract me from being there for the whole group. Um, just like reiterating that and acknowledging that great behavior really helps me. And then I have to flip a switch in my brain from being a mom of two to a mentor for everybody. And I think I feel really blessed to be able to do that easily. I know it does not come naturally to most people. So I guess my advice would be to really take time to notice the dynamic you have with your own children and know that it's okay to say no to that role if it's not right for your family right now. It may shift and change over time. Maybe when your kids are a little older, you could try it again. But there's so many other ways for parents and caregivers to support the circle and to support the program leadership that you don't have to be a volunteer in the classroom with your kid. Joy, do you have any last minute advice for our listeners?
I love all of those thoughts of really acknowledging that your kids are doing something wonderful by sharing you. That is a great way to put it. Um, I think a lot of us that volunteer as the storytellers and door people are also the people who volunteer at school and at events and all these other ways. So, what a great way to share that piece with our children, that acknowledging that they're sharing and how wonderful that is. Um, my last piece of advice that I share often at trainings is one I actually learned from my first original trainer. And that would be know the rules well enough to know which ones can be broken while maintaining that intentionality behind the process. Godly play is so intentional. There's a reason certain words are said and certain things are done. And if you know that intentionality piece, and then you do need to change something for the support of the circle of children, not so much that adult need, but that circle of children's need, then let's work with that and we can ebb and flow and be more flexible. And then I would also remind the parents and caregivers who are hoping to sit in on a class that they may do so the first time. But then after that experience, they are welcome to join the circle as the storyteller or door person if they think that volunteering is a good fit for them. This might be a great opportunity. If they think they need to be in the room each week, then absolutely, there is a volunteer role for that.
Thanks, Joy. Well, listeners, we would love to send you all away with a blessing.
All right, friends, everyone take a deep breath and receive this blessing from Aimee and I both. With love to all of you for all the work you do. As you make your journey, may God come so close to you and you come so close to God that you know all of God is in every place, in all of creation.
May you always carry with you the gifts given to you before you were born by the one who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things that people still know him in every season, in every mystery, in the bread and the wine.
Remember that you are forever part of this sacred circle, where the Spirit moves among us like a dove, bringing comfort, strength, and power. You are storytellers and peacemakers, light bearers, and people of God who are creating the part that hasn't been written yet.
Amen.
Amen.